Okay. How's it going there, bud? Got Jared Punch, Big Bang Attack. I'm so curious as to the relevancy of that. Like, is it relevant to something? Did I miss a? Oh, is it what Knott's doing? I guess no, but even more like what the Super Saiyan, like the Super Spirit Bomb, or I guess just normal Spirit Bomb pose. What's up there, Toga? How are you doing? So it's like, do I call you Izu Toga? But it's like your name is a slander on the ship. What's up, Brax? How's the new house going? It's going all right. I am looking right now of like, I'm trying to essentially right now trying to find like a side job to do for just kind of like, essentially just kind of something I can do casually without too much crazy dedication or really too much into it, that I can kind of just, like I said, just do for however many couple $100 a week or something. I got a couple plans. Hopefully that'll work out. Ferret Zero versus Dragon Gods. I mean, it's weird because like he's so broken, but I mean like all he could really do is like reset time. Because, like, or I guess undo it, do the Neo Eclipse, because he has no way to really hurt him. But yeah, so let's real quick. I've now got the membership set up. I've only got 2 tiers, like I mentioned. I'm only gonna do like a $1 and then a $2. Maybe if it goes well and I can keep up with the tiers and I think of more content to put, I'll put another one at about $3.50. But other than that, I don't really have anything. I've beaten the notification time is relevant to me. You did beat it, Bootius. Would it be Buddius or Bootius Zogratis? Or maybe it's Bodacious Zogratis. Just Izu. I like the ship. I'm trash for. Oh. See, the thing is, like, it'd be such a weird ship that I've never understood how it would really make sense in context to the story. And it's something that's, like, been really weird because, like, Toga and Deku haven't had that many interactions. So it just kind of feels like that ship. Like, it's one of those things, like, if Oda suddenly tried to start capitalizing on Zoro and Tashigi, it's like, dude, you had all this time and you didn't do anything with it. You're just so little with Toga in a really large sense. Because, like, when you look at all the stuff that, look at all the stuff Horikoshi gave to Dabi, and then you look at, like, Toga, who, like, was introduced at the exact same time. And he's got, like, all these layers to him and all this stuff around him. And then her thing is, like, she's just kind of this crazy girl that, like, wants to drink blood and is into dudes that get fucked up a lot and beat up a lot. But, yeah, so my plan is, essentially, is I wanted to make sure I had the tab so I could look at it. So, I need Jason to show up. Because Jason's the first guy to sign up. So I can use the fact he's got a nice little badge as an example to show that there is, the first like little perk for it. Like I said, the first one is only 99 cents. I'm not doing anything wild. I don't have any merch, so I don't want to make it seem like I'm bleeding people. So 1 sec. Yeah, but anyway. Yeah, the first one is going to kind of just be like, I'm going to do like extra chats. So like, I'll just do like a live stream where maybe we'll just kind of like chat about whatever. If we just wanted to go over topics, go over some versus stuff, maybe some of the smaller stuff. That's what I was thinking too. Like my like content on the stuff that I don't do reviews of that I still like talking about, like Undead Unluck, Mission Yozakura Family, what else is in there? Mashal, like anything like that, or like even some of the stuff I used to review that I don't review anymore. Otherwise, like Hino Got Crush, like anything like that, I'll probably just do it in those kind of streams instead. Because also, like if it's a members only one, then I can probably talk more about like kind of like the crazier stuff, like what goes on in like darker series, or like way more wild stuff happens. But you got that essentially for the first tier, which is only, like I said, 99 cents. And I only have one emoji right now because it's like it said that you have to be 1 for 1, and I got to figure out how to do that. Like I don't know if there's probably something in Photoshop that I can use to kind of do that. I'll look into it. I only have the one so far. See, Jason has the one. I had a couple that I was setting up. Like I had like 5 or 6 emojis and like 5 or 6 of the badges, and I had them all planned out. But they wouldn't fit, and the only ones I got were like I have a Natsu one for an emoji and the golden Bidoof badge. I was looking, I'm like, I need something that I'll like that isn't too crazy, but it's like a really good starter one. The gold Bidoof. Hold on, the Bidoof one is cool. The Bidoof actually is it's the only Pokemon that I've ever ran into a shiny of twice. I've only ran into a shiny Bidoof twice. I've run into a couple shinies in the wild, but there's only the majestic Bidoof as two. And I've always liked Bidoof because it's like they always have those rodent Pokemon, but it's like most of the time they're kind of eh. But like I've always just enjoyed Bidoof. It's got a goofy name. He's cute. It's like the perfect size for a pet. It actually has good moves. What is that one? It knows no, it's Super Fang, right? That cuts their health just directly in half. Like that was always to me like a really good one. Yeah, but other than that, the first tier is just like priority messages. So like just obvious explanation, but I feel like just the quick TLDR is it will show in like my members tab their comments. So like if I go there right now, I can see like Bud's comments more or not Bud, sorry, Jason's within the last, I think it's like day or two. So like even if there was like, 30 or 40 messages on one video, which will probably be once I do that reaction on Tuesday to that dude's Natsu or Luffy video, those ones usually tend to get a good chunk of just general comments because everyone's arguing. But then I'll be able to see, his messages if he posts a bunch of stuff over anybody else's, and obviously anybody else that does that first tier. And the second one is going to be like, similar to streams, but I'll just do like every once in a while, like maybe like once every other week or something, unless it's suggested of like a game to play. I'll just do like a short game stream, maybe play a couple hours, voting for future videos, which is pretty much the members only polls. I don't know why I put that twice, which will pretty much just be like whenever I want to do a theme, whether it's like, we're going to talk about, different elements of wizards. Maybe we'll do one that's on ice, and we'll talk about the different ice wizards, obviously the gray and whatnot, or even not even just kind of wizards. It might even just be Mishima stuff in general. Or I could even do what's like, oh, we're going to rank ice wizards or ice characters today, and then it's not just gray. You can throw in like Todoroki, Toshiro, Rukia. You can grab Haku. Like there'd be stuff like that. Like stuff like that, I think is it's enough that I think like it's like I don't have anything obviously like merch wise right now. Like maybe eventually I could get something. That's still something that I think is way far out than my current capabilities. And obviously I'd probably get like 2 shirt sales right now. But maybe it's like one of those things like I could see it in the future if it ever kind of went wild, but I doubt it right now. As of right now, I'm just like trying to put out something that's somewhat fair, pretty much. Fair enough for like the $1, $2, whatever. Name a random character from any work from Mishima. Crash Cookie. Crash Cookie is the character from Rave Master who was pretty much the prototype for Guildmarts' magic. He had the whole Crush magic and, well, not magic, from a Dark Bring. And then he was broken, and it's like how they outsmarted it made a lot of sense, but it's like he was such a weird character to be so OP to come out of nowhere and then to die like that. I always thought that was funny. Rex, why'd I hate King? King's a racist to demons. I remember, here's the thing, that part when it's like, he obviously trusted Meliodas, and he knew he was his friend, and he's done all this stuff for him, but then like the second he found out he was a demon, he got super like, I don't really know about you right now. It's like, dude, you've been, he's had your back, and you've had his back for how long, and you're gonna turn on him just because if you find out he's of this race? It's just like, and I get like people say like, well, the demons did bad stuff in the series, but I mean like you can say that about like even in real life, you could say like any country or any like culture has done something horrible in the past, just because obviously you search back far enough in history and you're gonna find bad stuff. Or like you can do it in more of like a fictional verse, like what is it? The dude Dahlia was doing crazy shit with the Supreme Goddess, and it's just like, well, you're gonna start discriminating against fairies, or like any of these guys that were bad, like Gloxnia and Dolores, like they switch sides for a bit, so it's like, well, are you gonna hold them accountable to that? I don't think so. Bond never did anything like that. Like Bond never like gave off that like, oh, well, I don't like you now thing. Because it's like if I was, here's the thing, this is what makes sense to me. This is the logic that I would put it in. If you hated demons, but you were, Meliodas was your bro, he's had your back for again years, you've been friends for years, and you constantly had like a, mutual friendship, and then you find out he's a demon, that'd be one of those things where you should go, oh, well, maybe they're not all bad for obvious reasons of like, I've been friends with this one for years and years and years, so you should open up at that point, that should immediately say like, oh, well, that just shattered your entire like prejudice against this whole group of people. And then it's just like, instead he's like, it's like, dude, what are you talking about? You should be cool with them now. I think Natsuko transform to dragon of a desire to protect Lucy. I mean, potentially it would just really depend, because we know like his, the anger state can affect his power level just from how his abilities work, but also we know that it's to the point where it can affect things like Dragon Force. How do you think Deku would react to the curse of Ankh Saram? I mean, I don't really know. He'd probably just be like, shit, there's nothing I can do here. There's like literally nothing you could do in that whole setup. Did more research on Ganyu. She's 3,000 years old because of her killing half. 3,000? Man, I wonder what it'd be like to be that old. You just probably get bored after a while. All in all, really sad and tragic. Or yes, that, like, once you get to that kind of like long age and stuff with their backstories, it seems pretty rough. Doesn't remember biological human father, so she's half Quillen, however it's pronounced. Quillen? I don't know. Either way. But yeah, so once we get stuff like that set up, I'd like to do maybe like some additional, like maybe like more versus stream content could eventually be more towards, maybe more towards members if other people aren't too into that or something. Or we can have those ones where like people are just asking me versus questions for the most part. Maybe just kind of those extra streams. There's a lot of the extra stuff I'm looking into, because obviously I want to make sure that I can put out stuff that is hopefully worth the trade-off, essentially. Like, I feel like, if, obviously fully optional, but, like, doing stuff with, like, getting the priority comment stuff and poll voting for, what, like, $2 a month. It's around there where it's like, yeah, sure. Kieran. That makes sense. I know it's, like, one of those words that's pronounced really oddly like that. Well, it should have been Quellen. Quelsadilla. There you go. Good old Quelsadilla. But yeah, I feel like though for this whole setup, I mean, as long as I can hopefully deliver, maybe eventually I can add more. But as of right now, I'm pretty much just gonna be looking more towards kind of making sure I follow through and deliver. And like I said, weekly stuff, I'll probably do something after this stream. Maybe I'll put up like a first poll one. We can do like a theme. I'll pick a couple magics or something, and then we can actually, let me ask Jason. Is Jason still here? He was the first guy, so he's got first poll voting rights to see what kind of poll I should do. See if there's anything that he finds intriguing enough. Like, a character one, maybe we can do a vote on some characters or some magics, maybe a theme video with stuff like, different types of magic, or like spiritual arts, or whatever curses. The Chinese mythical beast. I know a little bit about Kirins or clones or whatever. Like I only know the gist. I know that they were from like Chinese mythology, but I don't really know obviously the extent of them. Why was Saber King Arthur? I don't really know. I didn't really watch Fate. Like the Fate series to me has always been interesting, but I've never been too hyped. I don't know. It's weird to me that like the series resets. Like, what is it, after every other season, and they like it's the same characters, but they're slightly different. It's like if like the memes people made on Mishima were true, but it's like, I don't know. It's actually kind of like, I think the better way, it's like how a lot of Western comics are, where after a while everything will just be reset. So it's just like, well, what happened to this last version I got invested in, or certain events or character stuff? It's going to be either rewritten or it's no longer relevant. Sometimes the next story might not be as good or might be weird. Hearing Sasuke's lightning. Yeah, I know. That big old freaking dude from the clouds used Nanatachi. Where you contact me? I guess on here or Twitter. What do you need to contact me for? Is it like a 100 Years quest thing? I mean, you can like tweet and at me, or just ask me here. Obviously, like you can join my Discord here. I'll put a link to my Discord for anybody that wants to come by and hang out. I'll probably do that too, actually, with Discord. I'll probably like give maybe like members like an extra role, like kind of that thing. We'll have to upgrade. I will upgrade I'll have to upgrade Jason for being first of his name in the members club. Did Shunsui get one shot by Aizen? I thought he was strong. I mean, like, Shunsui is strong, but, like, Aizen's just way stronger. And plus, on top of that, Aizen was smarter. And there's a lot of stuff that goes into it with context of all the plotting and planning that Aizen did. But it's not like it's just, like, straight out fought and then beat him. If you didn't have the whole Kyoka Suigetsu illusion thing and it's only Kyoraku and Aizen, obviously pre Hokyoku Aizen, I would give it to Shunsui. Like, just him activating his Bankai as a potential kill. You show the Discord. I am doing it. I've sent the link for anybody who wants to join. Anybody who wants to kind of chit chat and talk about whatever. There's a manga I thought was a good idea to check out. What manga? I'm caught up on that one series, Gashiakuda, or however it's pronounced. I was thinking about reviewing that. I like that series so far. I think that's been pretty cool. And it's Shonen Magazine. I have a slight bias for Shonen Magazine. Like, they have a lot of solid stuff. I wish Orient had more of, like, consistent translations. So I liked Orient. I thought Orient was cool, but it's like, it was one of those series where it's like, I could get a chapter next week, or I could get one 2 months from now, for all I fucking know. Also, real quick, if you would, like the stream, thumbs it up. See, I did send up the, I did tweet it and see if, if you're on Twitter, like and retweet to hopefully get some more people to come chit chat with us, talk about whatever, and we'll see exactly how things are going. I'm planning to do also some more kind of fun stream stuff. There's obviously, like, tier list makers and whatnot. I did want to do everyone that is in the Spriggan tier. I want to do a whole Spriggan tier, and we'll probably include characters that I think logically should be around that level and who should be just based off of that. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like Elfman is, in terms of strength and durability, Spriggan tier, but obviously, like, he's not even remotely close to speed wise, whereas, like, Lizana is to a degree speed wise, but that's literally it. And then, even though Mira Jane doesn't really have the best feats for it, I feel like logically, like, she should be, like, low Spriggan level, just because of the fact of where she is, and she should be stronger, at least somewhat, than Elfman. Oh, you made your own manga? I mean, you can post it on Discord. I'll look at it. Thoughts on Mashal in the final arc? Yeah, I assume so. Like, I assume Mashals was going to go into that arc when it started to kind of, like, really pull out, like, the big endish bosses, and it was like, hey, I'm a top tier that is going to train you, and you have to overtake me within the next month. That was, to me, the biggest, this is the final arc battle, because this is the character supposed to be, like, tied, like, even at one point stronger than Wahlberg. It's just like, how would there be anything after this? Also, thank you very much for Rob McClellan for the $19.99. I don't understand how Stars and Stripes beat Noelle when Noelle and Black Clover characters are massively faster and light. So even if Stars and Stripes can think of a rule, it wouldn't matter if Noelle just blitzes her. Well, the thing is, like, that they were going off of is, well, one, Stars and Stripes definitely has, like, she's at least faster than light. She's at least, like, light speed plus. Like, she should be at least, like, within that kind of area where she is fine with light speed just based off of her own feats. Catching the laser was definitely something that would put her up there. I would say Noelle's definitely faster. The big problem, I would say, with Stars and Stripes versus Noelle is if Stars and Stripes does the whole, AoE, there's no error in the, within whatever it was, 100 meters, and then just kind of vacuum chokes Noelle, or, like, does something to the water, then Noelle, like, she has a counter on Noelle, and I feel like she just has more of, like, a direct way, I think, to win, whereas, like, Noelle has speed, but I don't think Noelle has as much on her as I would have liked with Stars and Stripes. But, I mean, we're probably going to have her above Stars and Stripes for sure, like, the next time we fight after we come back. I think it's one of those ones where you could argue for Noelle, but I would personally say a bit more Stars and Stripes, just because Stars and Stripes got pretty much all of her feats all at once within, like, a few chapters. Whereas, like, Noelle has a whole nother arc where it's, like, the biggest arc where she's going to clearly be doing stuff. But yeah, thank you very much for the $19.99. I appreciate it. Man, I wish you just did the membership. I could have seen how it looks, because I think I get a notification that says I got a new member if somebody joins, and I just was wondering if it tested out. But I do appreciate it, obviously, very much so. Thank you very much for the $19.99, man. But I was saying I might just do I might do YouTube Shorts for memberships, and then that way I can still do stuff like for Robin's case, I know how much Robin likes Mission Yozakura Family, stuff like that. I could just do like maybe like a 3 or 4 minute or whatever review, talk about that, or even like stumbling over my words. I think YouTube Shorts are only like a minute or something, but I mean, like, I could wrap up my thoughts pretty well within like a minute, because like I like Mission Yozakura Family and a lot of these other smaller Shonen Jump series, but I don't have like there's not as much to kind of like theorycraft with it, so like I wouldn't be able to do like nearly as much insight, but I obviously can talk about current events and stuff that I've been enjoying about it. So you say Lucy beat Brandish. I think Lucy has the power, but how would she overcome the hacks? Well, the thing is, Brandish's hacks is targeted hacks, and we know that from the fight with Nineheart, is that she has the whole setup where it's like if a character is of a certain level of power, she can't shrink them or kind of like really work around them. And on top of that, things about that, like even if you shrunk Lucy, it's not really going to matter too much if she can just use Aranometria, or if like she tried to do like a one-shot kill, then Hologram has, like we know, a built-in save to keep her from dying. And then at that point, it's like, what could she do from there? And if she just left Gemini to chain a spell. What are your takes on Lucius' time theory? I do not like the time theory. I really don't. I know some people like it, and I'm probably in the minority, but I really don't like the time theory. The thing is, one, it would take away so much of the main character, of like the whole protagonist side of accomplishments, if Lucius had to cheat for them the whole time. But also, if he's casually, stopping or reversing time, especially if he's casually reversing time, then Tabata is going to put himself, like, I feel like Tabata would put himself into one of those Deus Ex points where he's going to have to invent something to beat him, because that's one of those powers you have to have an idea of. You have to have something set up going into it, so there is a way around this, because it's such a broken ability that it can easily, like, one, it would be like, well, how does anyone beat him? And two, how would he ever really fail or like mess anything up if he can just infinitely fix any problem he has? And I don't like that. Again, I know some people do. I really don't. And I say this from somebody who obviously, like, I've been seeing Mishima do time stuff for years and years. He's somebody I trust with time stuff because he's been doing it since like 1999 with Rave Master. But it's like, if a writer isn't like well versed in time travel stuff, I don't want them to do time travel stuff, because like time travel can break a story easy. Super easy. Like, time travel can really fuck up continuity and really cause a lot of question problems. I really don't like the time theory. I feel like one, it'd be weird, but it's like, two, how would they ever beat Lucius if he could just reverse time every once in a while? Because it's like, they wouldn't be able to really get the jump on him because he has future sight, and then he could just reverse time. So it's like, if Asta was going to do something crazy, some anti-magic thing, oh, well, he would have already seen that he was going to do it in the future, bam, and then reverses time to fix the problem, so it's not going to be to, where he's going to get in that scenario. I'd be fine. There are ways of balance that to me would be okay. Like, if maybe he's only able to, like, maybe if it's like Rebecca, where it's like he can only reverse a short span of time so many times a day, like a couple seconds. That I can find with. Like, it's the people that want it to be like this, like he's been casually just every couple seconds, like, turning back time and stopping time and doing all these crazy extensive things, where it's like, if it's too much, then I feel like, again, Tabata will write himself into a corner, and we're going to have like a Madara and Yuhabot situation. I don't want that. I really don't want Tabata to put himself into a spot where he has to invent something to beat the bad guy. Heisuke versus Tanjiro. Heisuke claps. Like, for real, Heisuke would put him in the dirt. Like, he's got way better feats. Like, the fact he shrugged off that one big explosion from the previous chapter, like, he would no diff all of Demon Slayer. Like, he would just completely clap any of them. I posted a manga on my own story server. I'll take a look at it later. I got a couple things to do after the stream, but like I said, I can take a look at it probably like later tonight. I'll take a peek. Didn't missiles nearly rip Stars and Stripes apart? Well, those were nukes. Those were like actual nukes. Evolution, and it was like multiple nukes, and it's like not only is the explosion, because it's like a nuke is different from like the full explosion versus where the epicenter is. The epicenter is obviously way crazier than just the nuke by itself. Like the explosion, like the full shock wave and the full devastating large scale power is huge, but that like ground zero where the epicenter of the explosion is way worse of a scenario to be close to. Like even for like some people with powers, because like I mean the radiation alone, that doesn't have anything to do with stats. That's radiation. You're gonna fuck yourself. It's my current take on Asta versus Meliodas. Personally, I'm gonna give it to Meliodas. I know some people will go with Asta, but the thing is, like we've seen, and Lucifer was a really good example of it. Black Clover characters are not experienced in fighting characters who just throw hands, who aren't throwing spells, but instead are just physically strong and just want to slap the shit out of you. They are much more capable in this verse because most of the characters their durability is entirely through mana skin. So how their durability and how their ability to take attacks is almost entirely designed for mana-based things. So somebody who's literally just punching you to shit hard, it's gonna do a lot of damage. Because it's like, we have this stuff that's like, Yuno and Yami, they're like, if we get hit one more time, we're gonna die, or like, we're done. Where it's like for example, like when you look at certain aspects of the body and when it doesn't come into, like, a character with like absurdly durable body and absurdly durable this kind of structure versus a character who is not. Where like when you look at something like lightning and like how lightning does damage your inside, but you can look at something like how like a dragon slayer like Gajio was just pretty much shrugging off lightning under a damn waterfall versus like what lightning still does to characters in One Piece. And that's just one of those things. It's like not every character over there is going to be built the same way versus like, okay, well, dragon slayers, one, are absurdly durable to begin with, but also their dragon insides are extremely durable. It's like, it's one of those differences in verse to where they are. Whereas like somebody in One Piece, they have absurdly higher general stamina than a lot of other characters where they can fight for days. So like some of them are going to have just that kind of that different corner of expertise. Julie, if the Lucius time, oh yeah, there's a comment I don't want to miss. Oh, it's the Stars and Stripes one I did. The thing is, like, she's faster, but like I don't think Noelle is so fast that Stars and Stripes couldn't do anything. And there is the fact that one of the best ways for a character to beat a character faster than them is with AoE. And if she has a way to AoE take down Noelle pretty quick, that's just a danger to her. And I feel like Stars and Stripes is smart enough to figure that out too. But I'd be willing to bet though that like next arc, probably like we get a time skip, maybe a couple fights in that Noelle will be way stronger. I think Lucius has a form of time reversal, but yeah, infinite time reversal is 2 OP. It's not entirely the 2 OP. It's the idea of setting of putting something in the story that's so crazy that there's no real way around it. There's nothing that the characters can really do to combat that. Because if you have a character that can casually stop reverse time and see the future, you can't get the jump on him without some ridiculous plot reason as to why he didn't see it coming. But then there's the question of like, why doesn't he just reverse time and fix it? And that way he would have known you're coming anyway, because he would go back and have the knowledge that you're about to jump him. Julius can see a bit of the future against this fight with Patri. How do you think Lucius can see? I'd like to believe that he could see like, the way that I would like it is it's like the same degree, but it's like he could concentrate and keep looking further in the future. Kind of like some Doctor Strange move. But like despite Gajil, Natsu would be a great dad as well. Yeah, Natsu I assume would be a great dad. Gajil's way more realistic as a like normal human being to be a dad, so like he's clearly doing better. But I think Natsu would be a good anime dad. I'm really hoping Mishima doesn't do the thing where he turns him into a shitty dad. Like, the worst case scenario I could see for Natsu is him being kind of like a Gildart-like character who goes on these long journeys and only comes back like once a year or something. That's the worst I could see. But like he would he wouldn't have that fact of not knowing who Kana is. You know, he would know his daughter, so, assuming he's gonna have a daughter, and because of that, I feel like he would have to be. You know, it wouldn't make sense for him to be a bad dad. It never surpass. Wait, it will never surpass that. I got reincarnated slime as Quan cellmate. Quan cellmate is a legendary figure. Oh, are you talking about Trayvon's name? Oh, he changed it. How do you feel about the Asta Devil hybrid theory? I'm starting to believe it more. I've been fine with that. I've always thought that was the theory that I could get behind, because it would, like, you know, some form of anomaly in Asta's conception, like in his genetics and stuff, that might have contributed to messing with him not having magic. I've always thought made perfect sense. And it's one of those things that I could see it really kind of just laying out just like that, and it just kind of giving us that, again, that kind of just like very, very very grounded, and again, very understandable genetic explanation of like how his whole setup works. There's no evidence they'll be a shitty dad. I don't think Natsu will be a shitty dad. Saint Chase Noel is greater than the force of those missiles. Well, like if you said the overall missiles, I would agree. But the thing is, like I said, the epicenter of a nuke is way different than its just general like large scale explosion, because that epicenter is like, what is the temperature on like the epicenter of a nuke? I would have to look it up, but isn't it like the same as like the sun or something? Isn't it something like ridiculous like that? Lucius as the Almighty. I don't want that, because that's the problem with the Almighty, is he gave Yuhabak a power that was too strong that none of the characters could work around. And if you do that, you have to make something up to beat him. And I don't want that to happen to Black Clover. I don't want because here's the difference. Twitter was not nearly as much of a cesspool and as crazy as it was when Bleach ended. If Bleach ended tomorrow and it was the exact same ending, but you know it was tomorrow instead of years back, it'd be fucking horrible. It would literally just be people flaming Bleach for days, and we already had that to a way lesser extent than that with Lucifero. Like, imagine our end villain getting Deus Ex'd. I don't want that. I really don't want that. I also think Asta scales and speed, creating after images and extreme. See, that's a weird thing. Like, after images are weird. After images is like a weird thing, because like I've seen so many different claims on after images. I mean, obviously that like faster than light speeds. Juan made a good point though today when I was talking to him. He was like saying, I was like, once you get past that like faster than light speeds, like speeds just kind of get a little muddy, which I do agree with. After that point, it's just kind of weird. Like, you can go with multipliers, but it's like a little hard to gauge it when it comes to like every character obviously just being another tier above another one. And it's like when you look at like where speed was, like it'd be weird just to say all those crazy numbers and speed out like out loud like for a lot of these verses when you really think about how far they get. My only thinks Crib God Joe was making for the last chapter was way too small for a kid. I don't know. I mean, like, for, like, a newborn, I don't think that'd be a problem, right? Because it'd just be, like, they're even smaller. And it would probably just be enough to kind of, like, keep them there and keep them in place. My thing was, like, what are you doing making it, like, raw metal? Because I was thinking, like, well, maybe it'll be, like, obviously, like, Dragon Baby, you know, have some form of genetics to him. But it's like, well, that's not how Dragon Slayers work with having kids, so I don't know why it would. Unless there's, like, a different process now, and obviously something different between Irene and you know, and how Gajo works. Maybe it has something to do with like how the dragons mess with their DNA or something. Lucius, Julius, Witch Queen, and the first Heart Queen were friends as kids. That's the theory I've had since the leaks. That'd be cool. I wonder if the Heart Queen actually knows, or not the Heart Queen. I wonder if the Witch Queen actually knows anything about that. I never thought about that. That's a good point. That's a good point, bud. You should do a video on that. I never thought about that. The Witch Queen might know more. Because, like, we know the Witch Queen knows a lot of this lore that, like, who the fuck else knows about? So it's like, if she, like, it could be very much like, oh, well, she knows, maybe, like, she knew when Lucius first entered the country. Maybe he's even older than we think. Maybe she was around when Astaroth got out. There's a lot of stuff that you can actually work around on. That's a pretty good connection point. And it's like, even if there's nothing there, I think it's logically enough of a conversation piece that you can theorize it as being logical, as if the Witch Queen at least knows something. Because it's like, it makes sense why the Witch Queen wouldn't tell anybody. Like, she's not gonna share with people that she sees are enemies. She's not gonna do it maybe if she doesn't know for sure, like, certain specifics. But logically, she would have the knowledge of certain events that went down like this. Like, maybe whenever Astaroth got out. Examples, being happy in Chemo. Wait, what is this? Oh, yeah, with how Natsu was, yeah. Yeah, it would just depend. I don't think he could. Like I said, I think the worst case scenario is he's kind of like a Guild Arts-esque adventurer. It goes out for long periods of time to do, like, crazy missions. It's the same temperatures as the sun. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, the epicenter of a nuke is way different. Like, being that close is much different than, like, just thinking about, like, the raw power output. Because when you think about it, the whole way that it works, right, is it does that explosion, and then the shockwave is just generated from that kind of, like, core massive amount of heat, and how, obviously how all that goes in science. The rest is just like the AoE size is the shockwave, where it's like that absurd energy yield is, like, at its core, and how it's done not through just, like, energy, it's done through, like, crazy absurd science. But it wasn't the epicenter of the explosion. Well, she was, like, right next to it, though, is what I'm saying. Not, like, the full epicenter, but she's not, like, miles away. She's right there. She would feel the heat. If you're close enough to directly feel the heat from the explosion, is what I'm saying, which is crazy. If One Piece started in this era, it would have been axed after Buggy. I believe that. Like, it's really true. Like, if Build King came out 10 years ago, it would have been fine. I legitimately think it would have been fine. Just because, like, there's a whole, maybe not 10 years, maybe a little bit more. Like, it'd have to be like that early 2010s, like, area, late 2000s to, like, early 2010s. That to me is, like, where it could have sat, because, like, people just aren't as patient anymore with, like, getting, like, stuff getting set up early game, which I get, but, like, makes me sad. Witch Queen should come back. I've been wondering about where she's been. Same for Mars. I would have loved Mars to come back. I already got the audio recorder. I've just been sitting on. Oh, good. Well, just put it out, man. Oh, the Gold Soul Radio. Wow. I got a celebrity in the chat from the Gold Soul radio station. What an honor. That's a good point. Let me ask Gold this real quick. Hey, Gold, Bud made a good point. I won't go too much into it. I won't go too much into his theory. But he was saying that, like, what if the Witch Queen knows something about Astaroth and Lucius? Like, what if she was aware and had some form of insight? Maybe she didn't know for sure, but, like, she has some form of knowledge. Like, I feel like right now, if there's anybody they could go to get, like, big world lore, it's the Witch Queen. Like, they could probably go to the Witch Queen and say, hey, we would like something on these devils. Like, is there anything you can do or tell us that could help us? She probably would have something. I don't think she could literally just info dump everything they would want, but I feel like she could easily just be like, yeah, I can give you bits of information that that I've collected. And I think that would make sense. Because it's like, even if she doesn't know specifics, I assume that she would be aware of, like, whenever Astaroth got out, or, like, any of these devils. Like, she could easily have some form of knowledge on it. Or maybe she knows something that is, even bigger than that, like where they would be trying to work at, or, like, what they'd be trying to do. No, I'd definitely be mad when his daughter hangs out with guys, especially Gray's son. I mean, to a degree, but I mean, like, I feel like it would turn into one of those ones where, like, as we said, like, Natsu just wants to have a competition to see whose kid's better. Literally catching the missiles, moving, nearly ripped her arm off. I mean, it didn't have to do with, like, her big, giant, construct thing, too. I mean, those are, like, nukes, man. Those are, like, traveling, like, absurd levels, giant mechanical machines. I mean, that's one of those ones where, like, I feel like if you took her actual power level into account, that shouldn't have been the case, considering she, like, you shouldn't be worried about the force of catching the missiles, like, from the rocket thrusters, if you're fine withstanding, like, the shockwave and explosion happening of multiple nukes right in front of you. But again, that's a fiction thing. Which end of the series Fire Force character would give Natsu a challenging fight? Well, I mean, like right now, I mean, Shinra's. I don't know how like the Shinra old like mega end power would work because of just like the obvious like Natsu's own fights with gods, being able to to burn concepts, and his is like Shinra's is like creation and stuff. Like, would their powers null each other? I don't really know how that would work. Like some like all burning and all creating thing. But I mean, like his thing is he can convert things, but it's like Natsu's fire at that point isn't really kind of like regular fire anymore, and it's already messed with people at a godlike stage. I think that's a weird one. That's one of those ones where I feel like it's kind of like immovable object and unstoppable force. Make sure to like the stream. I appreciate that. Which queen knows so much she gotta go? We need to keep her around. She is our source of lore. Just like the fact she lived so long, she had more knowledge than anyone. Yeah, that's what I mean though. It would make so much sense if she just maybe she's talked to all these people. She was around when all these other shenanigans were going on. Like, we don't even know how old she is. We have there hasn't been like a single mentioning like of how like centuries to thousands, right? We just know that she's really old. I don't think there's been anything that gives us an indication. She had lore about the elves. I would imagine she knows a bit about the devils. Yeah, and like when she was doing it, we saw Licht wielding the swords and like facing off what looked like devils. So I would assume that she knows about this event. Like she would logically know, like, oh yeah, this happened at one point. Because we know that like the swords are, the demon something sword, or pretty much all of them. Yeah, they're all the demon something sword, and people have speculated. Obviously, there's a lore reason of what got them to have those names. So if she knows about that point in time, logically she would predate the point where those swords were. She would logically predate the point where the whole event with Zagreus happened, and maybe like even fumbling my words are bad. Even far further to the point where like maybe she could be like one of the oldest characters in the verse. Do you think we'll ever get the rest of the Licht swords? I hope so. I want to know like how many swords though is Asta gonna have, because when I was thinking about Asta's swords, I never really thought about him getting Yami's katana. I always thought it was going to be 5 swords that were Licht's previously, and then Asta was going to get his own sword. That was what I've assumed the whole series up until he got that katana. And now the fact he can just turn a sword into an anti-magic weapon, obviously I feel like there has to be more variables in there. I don't feel like if you gave Asta just a random weapon, he could just be like, bam, it's an anti-magic sword now. I feel like there's context. Like maybe there has to be some form of attachment to the sword, or like there has to be some form of like emotional connection between him and what he's imbuing essentially into a sword. I really want to know when Tabata's going to clarify that, because it's like, why doesn't Asta just go grab a bunch of generic weapons and then anti-magic them? We will ever get maybe the missing dwarves. The dwarves, I mean, the dwarves have been a thing people have been asking for a long time. Maybe that's what we'll get in this last arc. Maybe we'll get a time skip and we've already gotten back to the dwarves. I think that'd be sick. I think it'd be really cool if it's like, what if the movie does take place after the Spade arc, and it's in between the final arc and the Spade arc, and we could maybe even get like the stuff with the dwarves in it that connects to the last part of the series. I think that'd be really cool, because one of the reasons that I assumed it would be non-canon or would take place before, and it was like, I had like Yami, and I know there's like the part where Asta doesn't have the devil hand, but maybe that's just one thing that they put in the poster and stuff to not spoil anybody. Question we don't really have a ton of answers to till we get like a full trailer. I hope Megicula returns. She's my favorite devil. I do too. I really want her to come back. I really like Megicula. She was one of my favorites for like the verse, just because like she was smart and like actually planning stuff out. She didn't even like she's alive when the elves were like 500 years ago. I feel like she's older though. I feel like she's definitely older, because like blood magic feels like one of those magics too that would let you be able to live absurdly long life. If Norgan's canceled, the author has one more chance that he's blacklisted from Jump. No, this is number 3. This would be number 3. He did Golem Hearts and he did Sahara of the Desert. So this would be his 3rd series if they kicked him out of Jump after this. And I would hate that because I've liked all 3 of his series. And unfortunately, I haven't gotten any of them so far, at least kept. And I'm hoping Doron stays, but I don't know. Like, I know it's first volume. Like, I don't know if its first volume numbers were put out, but like, I didn't see like anything about reprints or anything, so I don't know. Personally, I feel like if Shonen Jump does it, they're gonna be shooting themselves in the foot. Because a lot of the series are in their final arcs and their final areas. And I think that I legitimately think it'd be smarter for them to bite the bullet of the fact that Doron, like if it's not selling the best right now, bite the bullet, try and advertise it, push an agenda on it, and probably give it a really good anime. Like, try and get it to the point where its sales are alright, just enough to kind of like make sure you're making money on it. Or have to kind of start building a fan base. Give it a Demon Slayer. Not even, you can give it half of the budget that Demon Slayer had. Give it a good anime, and I can guarantee you people are gonna fucking start getting into the series, calling it GOAT and all the peak fiction, all that stuff. Because that's a lot of those people are out there. A lot of those people that they don't give a shit about consistency of what they're talking about. They will just jump on whatever is popular. And those people, as annoying as they can be, are good for the industry and are good for the longevity of a lot of these big companies. Because otherwise, like, I feel like Shonen Jump is really putting themselves in a bad spot. They're going to be running out of most of their series within the next couple of years. Especially like One Piece is. I know that people are going to always make the jokes about One Piece going on forever, but it's like, Oda can't go on forever, and there's only a handful of stuff, I think, logically left, especially after Luffy has pretty much achieved his end series power-up. I don't really know what left there could be for him. This is logically the last power-up that he would get. Obviously, there could be something more, but like this is, at least as of right now, the pinnacle of what he can achieve, other than just outright, getting more powerful. Like, I don't see any more like plot reveal. It sounds a little negative. Story-wise, power like increases and like reveals that way. I feel like there's no more that he could really get because he's got all the different types of advanced haki and he's got awakening. So I don't really know what else Luffy could get other than just getting stronger in general. Other than just in general becoming more powerful, physically stronger and whatnot. That's all I could really see. Maybe gaining more haki. We got Black Clover ends with some Asta Noel wedding and not Asta becoming Wizard King. I mean, it'll probably be both. Julius starts the apocalypse. It would make Julius a good villain. That'd be pretty sweet. I'd like to be like, well, Julius just uses the heart and just opens the gate. I think BC Final Arc will probably be like 150, 250 pages. Let me ask you real quick. Let me get your guys' opinion on this, because I think there's going to be a time skip after this and going into part 3. What would you guys feel if it's like time skip, cuts to whatever 3 years, the kingdoms are in shit, they're in like the ruin everywhere, it's chaotic and absolutely just a massive hurricane of chaos kind of thing, like everything is in disarray, and it's one of those time skips where it's like, what the fuck, and we have no idea what's going on, and we have to like spend the time figuring out of like what happened. Like if Lucius used the heart and just opened all the gates and let everybody out. And it's like one of those ones where we just have to figure out, put the pieces together, and then see like how they're doing now. Obviously, that's probably not the most popular idea of some like crazy post absurd events. I'm sure people would want to see that, but I feel like it'd be really cool if Tabata just said, I'm gonna just skip right to it, put all like the crazy shit out there, and just let us deal with, essentially the Dark Age. Like the Dark Age of Black Clover, where it's like all these devils and stuff are free roaming and causing chaos. I think that'd be really cool. And it's just like we find out, obviously, the mysteries, what happened, where is everybody, is anybody either critically hurt over these events or dead. I think that'd be really cool. It'd be a really ballsy move. But I don't see it happening. I wouldn't put my confidence in it, but I could see a potential of that happening, just because it'd be one of those like really cool shock moments that I feel like everybody would be able to look at and be like, oh shit, sure. Like it'd be one of those ones that people are like, what the fuck, we wanted to see some of this stuff happen, but at the same time you'd see all the madness happening and be like, can't complain, this is kind of cool. I think Black Clover Final could probably be... Oh, yeah, this one. Yeah, I feel like around that length is pretty good. Considering the arc is called Ultimate Wizard King, probably means you're going to see how Asta becomes Wizard King. I mean, I feel like everybody assumes so. I'm praying that Radies will find the Wizard King crypt and we can have, like, reanimated Wizard King villains that one Rady could be relevant finally. And then on top of that, we could see characters fight the old Wizard Kings and we can find out about them. That'll be, to me... That might be one of, like, the most agitating things that if Black Clover left dark. If, like, we didn't even know anything about the, 26 Wizard Kings between, and Queens, between Lumiere and Julius. Because Julius is the 28th Wizard King, right? Or is he 26th? But, 20-plus people that we have no idea about. Somebody, like, Radies could do us such a W in the series if he just started pulling, these Wizard King and Queen zombies. Because it'd be, like... We would be able to see one of, like, the best things of the lore. We could see all these legends come out, see their crazy magics, see what they can do, see the characters fight them. It would obviously be an easy way to have characters that powerful show up like enemies instead of just inventing new ones. I think Zagreed is still my favorite devil. I can see that. People like clown on Zagreed because he's, is he only a high rank? I wish Zagreed was supreme just so I could not hear people slander him. Poor dude. But he's definitely great. I really like Zagreed. I personally think he's still, like, the most menacing looking devil. I don't think any of the devils have looked as disturbing in, like, general appearance as Zagreed. I love Golem Hearts and Sarah. Yeah, me too. I really liked Golem Hearts. It's one of those ones where I really enjoyed the concepts and the design of the series, and unfortunately it didn't make it. I'm a fan of Doran. It better stand up. Me too. Especially after the last chapter. Last chapter is good. The new chick, I really like her. I think her design is cool. I think she's funny. I like that she's, like, half of the stalker girlfriend type, but she's also a crazed berserker. The second she sees one of the Mononoke ready to fight, she just goes into killer instinct mode and goes to chop it in half. I thought that was cool. I really like that about her character. Volume 1 of Doran sold around 4,000 copies. Yeah, I know that's not good. Like I said, I'll be bummed if I'll be really bummed if it gets canceled. But I'm really hoping that they make a, what I would say, better for the long run move and keep it going. I think they should bite the bullet and then just kind of keep it going and try and cultivate it rather than reset it. Because, like, legitimately, I think Doran has a lot of potential. It has a lot of that kind of general style that I think Demon Slayer fans are like, where it's a lot of choreography and just kind of like general, cool fight stuff. And I think that characters like Heisuke can also really improve on the popularity. Like, if that character got animated and we just saw a scene of him, I can guarantee you people would be jumping on it. If we got one cool scene of him just doing his thing, I feel like there'd be so many people that would want to check out the series. Because it's not like it's not a bad series at all. The first like 7 or 8 chapters, they're enjoyable, but they're a little slow. But like I said, once you get to the point where we start getting the villains and stuff, and we start getting to more of the plot, it got really interesting, and I've been really enjoying it. Definitely one of my favorite newer, like new, like the brand new series going on. That and Nagashi Akuta are probably my favorite of the series under that like year mark. Popularity grifters are necessary evil. Yeah, I know. I was like, I saw people making a thing about like, oh well, Tokyo Revengers season 2 got announced and nobody's even talking about it. What happened to the show? And it's like that's what happens to all these. Like people just jump on them because they're popular, and then the second they're not as trendy to talk about, they'll jump on the next thing, and they don't really care. Do you think he's better villain, Madara, Aizen, or Zeref? Personally, I think Zeref is the best. I really like Zeref's connections to a lot of points in the story. But it's a little hard to say because, like, Zeref didn't try to be a villain a lot of the time. If you want to say, like, in terms of, like, actually being a villain, I'd probably give it to Aizen, because Aizen went out of his way to be a bad guy constantly, whereas, like, Zeref was like, I don't want this at all. Like, I don't want this to be how things go. I think he's way more interesting. Obviously, he's got way more layers to him and stuff, but he's not as... Like, Zeref is a guy that... I can legitimately like look at a lot of areas and say he's kind of a good guy. He's not entirely, but there's a lot of ways about him that you can look at him and say, from the perspective of some people, he's a protagonist instead of an antagonist. maybe not like as accurate to a key as like what you look at it like an actual like main character protagonist and a bad guy antagonist. But I think Zeref is within that gray area that some people could easily make a case for him. Whereas Aizen is a villain. Aizen is a bad guy. And if you look at it more of that, like, who did more villain, who fit the villain spot, like, filled up them shoes better, I would give it to Aizen. I think Zeref is so... I definitely put it as, like, Aizen I definitely would say more of, like, a bad guy-esque, whereas, like, Zeref I think is a better character and more interesting as a villain. Madara is cool, but, like, I don't think he compares to these other two. I really don't. Black Clover Final Arc 400 chapters? That's a bit too long. Like, if you said, like, 300, I'd say, like, damn, maybe, but, like, 400 is a lot. But maybe. I mean, like, maybe Tabata will do one of those things where, like, the last arc is just way longer than everything else. As Nozel had a beard. Nozel with a beard would look weird. That would look super weird. Post-apocalypse time skip sounds good. I think that'd be really cool. Yeah, you guys think that'd be cool? I think that'd be neat, because it'd be one of those things we would skip over a lot of, like, the build-up and, like, the crazy moments of that. But it'd just be like seeing it, like, post everything has gone to shit. You know, you could have, like, imagine kind of like how the first time skip happened, and it's like Asta riding in, he's buff. It's done more in like a heroic good, like a little dark but good way. But like imagine it's more of like Asta, like he's not like fully like jaded, but like he knows like shit's fucked up. He knows that like there are some people that are he's in one of those like scenarios where like he knows that he can't save everybody. Maybe he's like not let him, but he's like he hasn't saved some people, like some people die, and it's like that kind of gets to him a little bit. One of those scenarios where it's like you don't have to change his whole character, but it's like one of those kind of just like event things that you could easily see happen without it having to be a big villain thing. It could just be, oh, you know, Asta at some point, you know, multiple times, like he's tried to save civilians, but a couple of them end up dying, and then that's really kind of grated on him. I think that could be a really good jump into like the final arc. Like jump right into chaos, right into like absurdity. So like the second we get back from the time skip, everybody is gonna just be shocked and just be like, what is going on? And like instead of it being like, oh cool, we're having a time skip, let's see how everybody's older and stuff, it's just like, we need to see who's alive, we gotta see where everybody is, we gotta know what's going on, and it's just a mystery of events. I think that'd be great. I think if the first part is us just slowly getting chunk after chunk of like events that have been happening, the status of characters, what's going on where, I think that'd be great. I think it'd be really cool just to see everything go down. What did you miss? I mean, mostly we talked a little bit about the membership stuff. The only thing right now is like for like the chat and stuff, like they get like I only have like the $1 and $2 tier. There's like, you know, the little gold Bidoof badge. I'm gonna add more. Obviously, I'm gonna add some guild marks. And we'll get to stuff later. I gotta go into Photoshop and look at like how those 1-to-1 ratios work, so I can put the emojis and the badges with higher tiers. The gold Bidoof is just like, hey, you just got in, and then it's like, I think it's like every like 1 month, 2 month, 4 month or something that you get like higher tiers. Obviously, I'll get like the Fairy Tail Guild symbol. Maybe I'll get Tartaros. Maybe I'll get something like Igneal's like Dragon Tattoo, just stuff like that, where it'd be like just kind of cool extra perks. I don't think Mishima can surpass Zeref. There's always that like maybe he can, maybe he can't, but it's like I find it kind of hard. Like they said, the only way that you could really improve on Zeref would just be like showing more of his crazier, like showing more of just like delving into his crazier stuff. But that's more like something we already know that we would just be seeing more of, and that's one of those ones where it'd be like there'd be people who would just, you know, happy to see more of the Zeref's crazy side, but like some people would just, I feel like for a lot of people it'd also be that like you're spending a lot of time showing us stuff we already know kind of thing, and some people aren't into that. Whereas like I think the only thing like straight up we could get that would improve his character a lot, it would just be his overall character. Obviously like his character side of things is already pristine, but like the overall side is like seeing more of him in fights, like seeing more of what he could do, seeing more of his capabilities. Because that was like the only thing about Zeref that we didn't see a ton of, but it's like we know a lot about what he could do, and it's like it'd be hard to give him a lot of opponents anyway. This is like a Chainsaw Man arc. Man, it'd be sick. Just imagine it. Yeah, see, like people are liking the idea. I think it'd be really cool if we just jumped right into that. It'd be cool at the start of the 2014 Fairy Tail. Yeah, like that. Like that would be really fun. Because like my biggest thing about the Spade arc, and that's why I didn't do a lot of videos on Black Clover during the whole Spade arc, is there wasn't a lot of mystery large scale. There wasn't a ton of stuff large scale to kind of put ideas around. And I was like, I know some people are doing like way more stuff on like explaining powers and stuff, but I'd rather do that for Fairy Tail, and then stuff like looking into demonology lore. And there was obviously still stuff to do videos and speculation on, but it's like all the other guys were already doing a lot of these things. It's like I don't want to just do, I'm not going to do demonology stuff if they're already doing all this, or like any of these ideas I have. I liked when I was like thinking more of like, probably one of my favorite ones was when we were getting ready to go to Heart Kingdom, and I was like speculating on like what Heart Kingdom magic would be like, and I was like, well, what if they have animal familiars and they buff their animals with magic and do stuff like that? And I was like, that could be really sick. Stuff like that is what I've been missed with Black Clover, and I'm hoping we can get something where it opens up with mystery. That way, they could do a lot of speculations and a lot of videos just kind of like talking about, what's going on here, how, look what happened over here, like just the madness that could really kind of follow up with that. Is wrong, I wish Sekiri had more character moments. No, I would agree. I feel like she got more attention when she was a bird. Yeah, I'm here for it. I'd love to see some Radies in Wizard Kingdom. And Radies, I just want to see Radies do something. Like, I've always really liked Radies, and I just have not got to see him do shit. He's barely done anything since he hasn't really done anything since the whole first point where he was a bad guy. I mean, we had the little bits that we got in the Elf Resurrection arc, but like besides that, what has he really done? And like Radius has been one of my most interested characters in the series. So like just seeing him not really do anything, it's rough. It's like I know how Josuke feels about Mars. Is Lucifero a current new gen villain? He's already dead. I don't know if he's dead. I feel like with the 50% like still in the underworld that he's not dead. But I mean he was a villain, but I mean like he's kind of ass. I assume he's not dead. I feel like it'd be weird if he was. I wasn't crazy about Zagrid, but personality wise, he blows all the devils out of the dark triad of the water. Well, the thing is like Zagrid is like Zero, where he's not designed to be some layered villain. He's an evil, wants to be a bad guy and cause horrible misery and laugh at you while doing so and just enjoy the disarray. The difference is when you look at Zagrid and look at the twins, very similar, right? They're very similar when you look at them. The difference is Tabata actually dedicated, not dedicated. What am I trying to say? I've said it before. He dedicated the character to that aspect. He really made sure to put the effort into that. So a character like this, who again isn't too deep, isn't that crazy, but still is treated well in that spot, did really good. Whereas like the twins, when you have a character like that who's literally just like, I'm a bad guy, I'm evil, I want to like kill and be a bad guy, but then they get foddered like that, it takes away the only thing that they would have, is that like being able to back up that craziness, that like being mean bad guy villain stuff. And because of that, it just makes them look stupid. It makes them look bad. Like Megicula lost, but Megicula has a bunch of stuff that made her far more interesting as a bad guy. So like even though she lost, she to me doesn't look that bad because she still has all these other layers to her. Where it's like Zagrid took a lot to take down. Zagrid had a lot going on for him. He obviously had lore stuff too, but Zagrid actually could back up that villain stuff. Tabata made sure that he actually was going to follow up on that bad guy trait, whereas the twins were just nothing. They came out and just were looking bad. But yeah, we were just talking about earlier the membership stuff. I just got like $1 and $2 ones. If you want to be a member, I just got a couple extra perks. Nothing going to be too crazy. We'll do some extra live streams, just member stuff. It gives you priority comments, so like I can see any members' comments above
other people's underneath my videos. So it's like if I go to my comments tab, it has everything. Obviously, if I go to a specific video, it has comments just for that video. But then if I go to the members one, it shows, okay, what members have been typing, and I can see those more so than the others. And with that, I'll probably respond more to them. Because, like, the problem I have with... I have a long-standing problem with YouTube comment conversation. I've never liked how, like, the YouTube comments have been for, like, actually... long, like having more like a multi-post conversation, whether it's debate or what, because like you don't get the notifications as easy, and on top of that they're harder to sort through, whereas like this I think would be easier if like somebody wanted to debate me or whatever in comments or whatever the fuck, or they wanted to ask a question that I otherwise might not see in comments. Product needs to create something crazy and kill characters for people not to hate so much. I mean, like, I don't really care too much about, like, what the people who aren't actually fans of Black Clover have to say. Like, the people who only would want to read it because, like, characters die is, like, they're not real fans. They're just people who just want to see, like, characters die, I guess. Being kind of similar characters, No Zone Byakuya. Enjoyed Byakuya way more. I personally could see it going either way. The thing about Byakuya, though, is obviously he has way more screen time. Twin Ziggy, Kenjaku, and All For One, who's more menacing and the bigger threat to their main cast. Right now, I would probably say Kenjaku, because he just has a lot more, like, he has a lot more of that, like, things are still going his way, mastermind kind of plan, and obviously he's in that his big main bad guy plot right now, whereas, like, Ziggy, like, we don't know exactly where Ziggy's gonna go right now. Ziggy's still in kind of a question mark era, and then All For One, I mean, All For One's not gonna do anything. Do you think Hinehisa will come back? I hope so. Like, if the series survives, I hope so bad that he comes back, because I thought he was fun. Everything goes to shit in Tabata and introduces angels. I don't want angels. I really like the idea of it just being the humans and not being angels. I know some people do. I had a conversation with somebody about this a long time ago, and it stuck with me. It was when I was talking to them about Berserk, and, he's at, like, this dude I used to work with, he asked me, like, the devils and the demons and stuff, and then he asked me if there are angels, and I said there aren't any angels, and he said that was dumb, and I was like, well, no, because, like, the whole thing is it's, like, humanity is fighting back against them, but because it's not something they need some higher divine being's aid for, because it's instead humans against the dark. And somebody made a good point, later, I saw a video on this not too long ago, and it was, I can't remember what it was, I think it was in some Souls lore. I don't remember if it was Dark Souls or I think it was Demon Souls, where they explained that like when it comes to like some form of extremely divine, godlike, absurd power like character, the label of a god and a demon can really just come down to the perspectives of the people, because who's to say like what's what for who. And there was some really interesting stuff about that, like, because there's like one character who is like viewed by a lot of these people like she's a demon, but a lot of people view her as like essentially almost like this goddess for how good she did, where it's like it really just depends on like certain areas of perspective in those regards, which I thought was really cool. So it's like I think that would just be a neater layer, but I really like the idea of more of like the humans fighting back against this ancient malefic force without needing angels. I know some people are, want the angels and stuff. I could go either or with it, but I would prefer it to stay with the humans. Again, it could introduce angels. I'm not gonna be mad about it, but still. Do you think Full Brain can beat Mugetsu? No, I don't. I hate that argument. It doesn't even make sense. Because it's like, there's no way. It doesn't even make logical sense for random characters in the 1,000-Year Blood War to be stronger than Mugetsu. Because we have stuff like Yamamoto saying in 1,000 years no Soul Reaper has been born that surpasses him. And it'd be so weird if it's like suddenly like everybody has surpassed him. Because when he said that, Kubo had already written that part with Yamamoto when he said that Mugetsu was the strongest ability. So it would make no sense for other characters just later to completely bypass that. And then what, like everybody's stronger than Yamamoto? Because if he says Mugetsu is stronger at a point where we already have Yamamoto's position cemented in hard said by himself, and then the author puts it as like clearly this is stronger than that guy, then it makes no sense for random characters to be stronger than Mugetsu. And I'm like, I don't even want to argue with like the Bleach people on that because it doesn't make sense. Some Bleach people I think are more logical, but some people just want to power scale it so weirdly to the point it doesn't make sense. Because it's like, what are you going to say? Ginjo is stronger than Gin or something, or stronger than Aizen? It's just like, why? That's goofy. I think Zeref fits into the Lucian Eren archetype where you're like them, he wasn't fully evil. Well, Zeref was never evil. Like, Zeref didn't want to do any of that. Lelouch is a little different. Lelouch was trying to fix the world, whereas like Eren was doing it for his friends, but it's at the same time, it's like all you really did was like, you fucked up the world, bought some time. But I feel like having a worldwide ideaed enemy of who caused the rumbling is only going to make it worse on them in the long run. Because I don't think it would make sense for like people later on to be like, yeah, these people did this, they could do it again. To be like, okay, we're going to do nothing. You'd be like, we need to get rid of these guys. Hang on, I'm gonna catch up with the comments, and then we'll see where things go from there. How do you feel about Seal being alive? I was like, eh. I thought, though, that it was kind of like she really hid underground while the battles were going on. Like, really? That was, to me, the only thing. It's like Lolo was out defending her people. Whereas, like, what, Seal just hid? She just hid underground? She's got moon magic. You've got an what should be an OP magic, and you just hid away? I think that'd be way cooler if there was something that happened where she showed up and helped. But, like, the fact she hid, though, it feels like Tabata was, it feels like to me one of those things where Tabata was on the fence and he was like, well, I didn't really put her in, but I'm just going to do it now. Because I don't think it hurt the story, but it was one of those things where it's weird to have happened. Like, it does just feel like she was brought back just so Yuno doesn't have to stay in the Spade Kingdom. Do you think Black Clover will have a Chaos or Kaguya twist? I think a Chaos one would be cooler than a Kaguya twist. I think a Kaguya twist would be weird. Could you improve on Zeref as a villain by having a more satisfying final fight? Yeah, I mean, that's one of the only things, though, is like, I feel like in terms of fighting, like, combat stuff is one of the only things you could really do to improve Zeref. But, like, I was never too mad about the Zeref fight, because, like, it wasn't a big explosion fight. It was way more emotional stakes, fighting choreography, and more about, like I said, the direct connection between the two characters, instead of big explosions. I would have liked the fight to be longer and a bit more grand, but I didn't need it to be, like, some Dragon Ball-esque fight. How hard would it be for Mishima to surpass Lucia again as a villain, since he's already did it with Zeref? Like, surpass Lucia? I feel like getting somebody around Lucia's level he could do. I feel like Ziggy being said to be around Lucia at the end, easy. I feel like he could do that for sure. The problem with surpassing Zeref is Zeref connects to so much of the story, and the way that, like, his ideals conflict so well with Natsu's, and all the symbolic stuff around him is just so good. Like, he did a lot with Zeref. Like, I did a whole thing of, like I fully believe that part of his inspiration for Zeref was Griffith. Like, there's a lot of stuff that kind of connects between them, but done in an opposite manner. Obviously, like, you know, you have somebody like Griffith who came from nothing, who wanted that castle on the hill shining under the sun, whereas Zeref obtained that and then didn't want it, and he kind of just did it for fun, and then he was more so pretty much just on the side living in that nothing kind of life, just wandering and doing nothing. And then obviously, you know, Griffith turning into Femto, and then Zeref going very hard. It's like the two difference of white to black and black to white, shedding away that layer of dark to kind of like symbolically show him leaving the timeline, stripping himself anew. Like stuff like that is just like he did so much for Zeref, and that to me is one of my beliefs of why he chose near the end of like focusing way more on Zeref than Acnologia, which I think I would have made the same choice if I put down that was put in that scenario. I would have definitely picked Zeref after Acnologia. That's one of the reasons I hope Acnologia comes back. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not gonna be mad if he doesn't. Okay, I'm about caught up. What is the point of bringing back? What is the point of bringing Rady, Sal, etc. Spade? Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't really know what the point of bringing them was. Like, I'd really had hopes for Rady's, and it went nowhere. What is the top 10 things you want to happen in Black Clover final arc? I mean, most of the stuff I would want is like certain character, like one. I'll just give one that I really want. I want Noelle to go tell her dad to fuck off. I really want Noelle to have a scene where she goes up to her dad, confronts him, and says like, "Hey, I don't have time for your shit anymore." Like, I don't know why we didn't get anything like that before. It's really weird. We haven't seen Noelle's dad at all, and there's been no confrontation about this guy who treated her like shit. It to me, it's one of the weirder parts of it's one of the weirder parts about like her whole backstory, and it's one of the reasons I'm always gonna have like Lucy above her, because it's like, how do you not at some point just go and like give him a piece of your mind? Like, I feel like Noelle might eventually, but I mean, like, Noelle definitely should. She should definitely have a part where she goes and just kind of like hashes stuff out, but more of like, let's not talk, I'm gonna tell you about things. Zero and Zagrid fall into the D&D category, chaotic evil. Yeah, but they're ones that are like, they follow in with it, and because of that, like, they, even though they're pretty one-dimensional, they're done so in a way that it respects them as villains like that. Because like, you can have a villain like exact same way, but if, you know, you throw them away or don't give them the respect at their spot, then they feel jokish because they just feel like they feel generic. Whereas like, you can have a plain evil bad guy, but if that dude is able to be a menace to whatever he's up against, great. Mishima can surpass Seraph with Angstrom. I don't know about that though, because that's like, Seraph has just so much. Like, there's so much this character and so many parts he connects to. Angstrom is really interesting, but it's like we haven't even seen a silhouette of Angstrom. We only know his name. That's like the only thing we really have. Like, and there are some people that don't even know if he's a real character. Like, there's a lot of people that don't believe he's a real person, that it's one of those things where it's like he's a vague existence within the series. I personally feel like we have to get to him at some point, because he is a problem to be an existent being. Considering, like, he, you know, somebody could get cursed again easily somewhere down the line, same problem. They have to deal with this dude. Who do you got between pre-time skip Amora and Julie from Rave Master? I would go with Amora. Like, Julia, like, she doesn't have like the same, like direct combat skills I feel like Amora does. She's strong, but I'm like, Amora's probably just gonna strike her down. The guild whole didn't get destroyed. I mean, like, that's one of those things though. Like, it wasn't a power level fight. It was a emotional stakes fight. I think Mishima can surpass Acnologia since he got much less than Zeref. That's true, but like, I will say though, like, Acnologia, after Acnologia's anime stuff, I easily put him at like an 8.5 out of 10. I think the way that he did in the anime did a lot for his character. I think they did a lot of really good stuff that connected a lot of questions and really gave him more depth. Like, Acnologia was somebody, like, I remember when he was still doing his thing, I was like, well, if they, you know, stick with him just being this kind of essentially like a living natural disaster, just this force of absurd, crazy chaos, I'm fine with that. You know, essentially like Zero, but to an absurdly higher scale. But then they started giving him more stuff with the story, and it was really weird because we left him in a spot where he did not feel like a good bad guy for a while. He just kind of felt cool, but he felt like there were things missing that we didn't have. And I think the anime did a really good job in improving that. I think the anime did great at making his character have more depth. Celine is definitely looking good. And I think Ignia easily, I think, can be one of Mishima's best villains. Like, I think Ignia has very high potential in the kind of writing he can do with him, with the whole stuff with him and Ignil. Celine, I'm already obviously really enjoying. Celine's backstory, I think, is one of the things that we're going to need to really kind of give her, like, a very more commendable and, like, understandable spot. Because, like, she's been doing really good. The only thing right now is we don't really know anything about her. We don't know anything about her in depth. Like, we don't have anything of her, obviously, like, her full motivations, what put her in this spot, what happened, obviously, 400 plus years ago. What has she otherwise been doing this whole time? What's going on with their sons? I feel like with Seal, they didn't want her in a fighting set. But, I mean, like, she's the queen. She is the queen. She should be helping. Like, the thing is, like, a king and a queen, like, any ruler, especially in a verse where people have powers and stuff, if you're not out helping your people, it's just like, why am I following you? Why would I want you to be my king or queen if you're gonna, you know, hide away during stuff was happening? Like, fully, I feel like she should have been one of those characters, would have been like, yeah, I don't care. I'm going to go out and help. I'm going to do things. Don't hide underground. I personally think that was a bad move. I think that makes her look bad. At least for my take. Some people might not agree with me, but I definitely think it makes her look bad. Would you say Shiki's faster light since 10% caught Wizard's Lightning? Well, no, because, like, two things. One, you wouldn't have it at, you wouldn't even be close to 10% of light speed with lightning. And two, you wouldn't treat his lightning like normal lightning because it's not created like normal lightning. It's obviously an ether-based thing. It's not, it doesn't act the same way scientifically by obviously how it's dispensed. The way that you would get around that would be obviously making a thundercloud, and then that creates the lightning bolt, because then at that point the lightning would come out as a scientific amount. But yeah, I wouldn't say that. But like also, the 10% has to do with his ether power. Not like, we don't know if that means his full power is 10 times in all stats. So far we haven't seen anything like that within the Eden Zero, at least right now. If we get something later where it's like confirms full power Shiki is 10 times and everything, then that would at least give way more to the multiplier. But it wouldn't really give credit to the idea of obviously Wizard's Lightning being lightning speed, because it's not natural lightning. You need either natural lightning that can arguably be said as natural lightning or behave like natural lightning, or something kind of like dragon elements or devil elements that are by default superior. Something like that, where logically by the consistency of the burst, you know that even though it's magical based, it is leagues above what comes out naturally from, you know, its real world counterpart. I still really would prefer like a lot of Eden Zero's power levels and stuff to be way more hacks based, and then like their crazy stuff to be from all their sci-fi weapons and machines. And again, I'll say it anytime, but I know it's not the most popular opinion, but like I really think it does a lot for the series to keep a lot of it more tied to the sci-fi aspects. Like, I would love it if Shiki's end of series Shiki, like even more powerful, had some form of cool mechanical augment. Like, what if he got hurt and he has something kind of like a bracer or something on his back, but it makes him stronger? Like something that like has to go into his spine or something that helps him get up and like helps him move, but in the process of which it gives him kind of like an enhanced, like how he's strengthened obviously by his ether and stuff, but it's like, you say you cancel all his powers, he just has his human abilities, you buff that core and then apply his ether stuff to it, and he could be way more powerful from the start, or from the go. I think that would be cool. I think that'd be really cool. Personally, I really, my biggest prayer when it comes to like large scale endgame Eden Zero is for the tech and the sci-fi aspects to play a big role in that. Because Mishima's done a really good job at keeping that sci-fi feel with Eden Zero, and that was one of the things I really didn't want to get lost within the series. Like that's something that I've been really worried about since the go, and he's been doing a really good job at keeping that. And it's been one of my favorite things about the series. Did I read Blue Exorcist? Yes, but I'm not caught up. I'm not caught up on Blue Exorcist. I'm a couple chapters behind. Noah really has done it to Solid, who seemed like the main bully. Yeah, but her dad didn't do anything. Well, the character's better than Lucy. I don't agree whatsoever. Lucy didn't do anything for 100 episodes? What do you mean? What episodes? What did she watch? Like, even in the first chunks, like Lucy, even in the first few episodes, Lucy figured out the stuff with Dear Cabby that helped fix that dude's life and completely changed how he saw his dad's life and everything about his dad. And on top of that, kept like he pretty much saved that dude's life. Like, and on top of that, they stopped Everlou, so like Everlou was exposed as being pretty much a fucking criminal and kidnapping people. Like, she did a lot. Like, what do you mean? And especially the first 100 episodes, that's all the way up until Sirius Island. I know episode 99 is Natsu versus Gildarts, so that means episode 100 is right after the fights. So that means you went all the way through stuff like Tower of Heaven, the stuff with Loki and the other spirits, the Fighting Festival, the Racion Sace arc, Edelus. Like, that's ridiculous. What do you mean? There is one for Noelle to Lucy, but don't downplay Lucy. Yeah, Lucy's a really good character. Don't downplay my girl. Harunoutsu never felt the darkness and became evil. Well, the thing is, like, I think, and I'm sticking with it. Shiki is, or Haru is a hero. He's like pure good guy. Natsu, I've always saw Natsu as more of like a soft core anti-hero. He's not like murdering people, but he does obviously, like, he's more like, the guild is inherently good, but they are at an end of the day for the guild. They don't care who they have to fight. Natsu doesn't give a shit if he has to fight Johnny Joe good guy if it means upholding, the guild's honor and stuff, or if the guy's talking shit about the guild. He doesn't care. Whereas like Shiki, I think Shiki will be like an anti-villain where he's already kind of there. He seems like a bad guy, and he'll kind of like give off the appearance and go about certain aspects as a bad guy, but he's kind of a good guy at the same time. Let's see. Acting like 8.5. No way. It was an okay backstory. No, there's a lot of stuff that made him an 8.5. There's a lot of stuff of just like mirroring his story to Natsu's that's great. Like, just for example, like the fact that both him and Natsu both had those dragon mentors. Both of them took a lot of like their teachings and aspects to heart. The difference was that. Oh man. But when you look at it, it's like you have both of their teachings. The difference between the two is one of them had their dragon teachers pretty much stick with them, okay, completely holding in and maintaining those teachings and that belief that they put in them, while the other was betrayed, shattering everything about them, and still going down that line. While as obviously Natsu carries on aspects of Ignil's name and his honor, Akinologia took the name of the one that betrayed him to continuously keep that betrayal up, to keep that anger and that hatred, to keep him from moving past it, where Natsu was told, in aspects of life from Ignil, that he needs to always get back to his feet, move forward, and keep going, whereas Akinologia didn't. He stayed where he was at, he brooded on that, and let that consume him. There's a lot between how those two characters mirror. Like, Mishima does a lot of stuff that he doesn't, like, you have to pay attention for. Like, it's beneficial, it's good for readers, but it's obviously bad to the fandom sometimes, because obviously some people don't pay attention to that, and then they just want to slander. But you have to, like, look at those minute things and really kind of see what he's doing. Like, one thing is, it's not as related, but when you look at something like motion sickness, he never outright gives direct statements on it, but you can look at multiple examples. He's only getting sick from things like carriages, vehicles, and stuff like that. He does, like, Natsu and Co. and other Dragonsters don't get sick from things like animals, because they don't move unnaturally. Whereas, like, things like carriages and trains and whatnot, boats, they don't move how something naturally would on that terrain. Mishima does really good with that kind of stuff, and that's one of the reasons I really like the series. But it's like one of the things that's caused me a lot of drama, because some people don't pay attention to that. Carrying me a character who uses a coffin as a weapon is I didn't know. Oh, it's something I didn't know I needed. Oh yeah, the coffin weapon is sick. I love Kieran's weapon. I wonder what the real White Witch will be back in the story. We haven't even seen anything about Rebellious. Rebellious is still just a weird question mark right now. Do you think that no matter what we learn about Ziggy's motivations, that he's irredeemable? Yes, I think he's too far gone. I think based off of like what he's been doing with like these mass human massacres, he's too far gone. He can't be helped. I think that they can't really do anything to help him. Like, if we get something like Akinologia coming back, and he has kind of like he has one of those moments where he has like that moment of clarity where he really just kind of, like Mercephobia, he really just thinks about all the shit he's done and see where he's lost his way, and really just see how that slippery slope took him down, and has one of those almost like a self-exile thing where he's just like, I don't really even know like if I deserve coming back, or like I don't know if I deserve redemption kind of thing. One of those kind of like areas with him that really just says, like, I don't really know how I can move past the shit that I've done. I think that could be the only way that you do something with not with Natsu, with Akinologia, but with with Ziggy rather. I feel like he's in a spot where it's like, how would he be able to do that? Like, we know that this is supposed to be the actual Ziggy. What's up, bud? Though, how you doing? You're already here though. Would Natsu kill innocent people to save the entire guild? I mean, he wouldn't really seem as innocent people though at that point. I don't think he would just go around murdering people. That's one of those things though where it's like the irrational questions. It'd be like, do you think Natsu would eat a child to get the guild back? It's like, I don't know about that. Or like, what's the one question that people were asking about? Like, would Zoro kill someone in the Straw Hats if Luffy asked him? It would be like really weird, but it's like that question would be like, but at the same time, of like, would that even align up with like the morality of these characters? Like, I don't think the teachings of the guild and how the guild is would have him murder innocent people, because Natsu only kills people who are irredeemable, that are too far gone. Those are the only people he's ever be like outright like, I gotta kill you, I gotta put you down. Does more have any Lightspeed feats? No, I don't think so. Griffith's a villain, is way better than Zeref. There are aspects to them I would say differently. I talked about this a little bit in the last stream. The things about Zeref and Griffith that they both benefit from, like you see way more of Griffith's backstory, way more of that pre-villain Griffith, way more of that kind of build-up, where you don't see nearly as much post of that point. Whereas Zeref, you see a lot more post, you see way more connections in the story, you get way more of that direct tie and indirect tie to a lot of events than Griffith. Like, that's why they're probably like, they're two of my favorite villains. Like, I definitely could see areas where Griffith obviously benefited more, but I see a lot of areas where Zeref also benefited more, and it really just depends on what areas you look at. I think they're both obviously really deep, complex, and layered characters, though. Two of my favorites for sure. I'm talking about Homeward right now. Noelle is that much faster. She'd blitz. Yeah, probably. Lucy would beat Noelle. Lucy would completely stomp Noelle into the dirt. I'm pretty sure more than scale to any of the planet's characters. I mean, they're the only planetary things are like Mother and their chronophage. And weapons, allegedly. I don't know how big that one robot planet that Mueller destroyed was. I remember when that came out, I was trying to figure out a way to scale that, because I was like, is it planet size? I spent a while trying to figure that out. Like, we would need to see that weapon or something to scale, but I don't know if we're ever gonna. Komor is not large island level. What are you talking about? Sure, it doesn't have any large island level feats. What are you going? What's Homora's best feat? Homora's best feat is beating Milani, and Milani was not impressive. Like, the Oceans were not impressive bad guys. The Oceans were definitely some of like my most like they felt like Dark Disciples but slightly better. Like Shura was clean. Shura did great that whole arc. I'm actually still really hoping Shura somehow isn't dead, but Shura definitely was the high point of that arc. The Oceans were but yeah, Shura 100%. Do you prefer Spriggan 12 or Rathion 6? See, that's kind of hard because like the Rathion 6 are better as an overall unit, but the Spriggan 12 have members I like way more. Because, like, some of the members of the 12, we don't even really have backstories and stuff on, whereas, like, we know where all of the Rathion 6 are from, we know where their story stems from, we know more about them. It's a little hard. I would probably say, overall, I would go with the Spriggan, because I like a lot of the Spriggan way more. I have a bias to Wall as well. Wall I will always have a bias for. Like, I don't have it, like, the closest thing in the Rathion 6 I have a bias for, like, I like Zero and Cobra, but, like, I like Wall more than I like both of them. If you go back to in time, would you start reading Fairy Tail when it first started? Oh, 100%. I would love to. I would have loved to do. I feel like, because the thing is, I feel like I could have fixed a lot of drama. Like, I don't know how much I could have actually done, but, like, the stuff with Sting, like, a lot of people, and I give blame to a lot of YouTubers around like Sting surrenders. They didn't understand why he surrendered. They didn't get like what happened to this dude's character, that like everything about his confidence and his will just shattered right there. They didn't understand anything about like the build up for him, because like the whole thing is like his whole design and everything was built up for that, you know, his moment in the sun where he defeats his idol in front of everybody and is this champion and proven as this, again, like guy in the light, like literally with his dragon sling element, obviously like with white and the whole holy light in it, makes sense why you would be in there. And that one panel where it looks like he's like, where he thinks he's defeated Natsu and Gajo, is a really good example of what he was going for. Whereas if he went to go and just pretty much just win by beating 5 people that could barely stand, it would look really bad on him. It would just look like he's just winning to win, and he's not fighting for what he promised with Lecter. He would just be kind of trying to get that petty win against people that didn't falter in front of him at all. And I think that would be that would have been the point where he he breaks past everything that was built up and like everything that he structured his whole self around, and wouldn't be able to fully come back. Whereas, like, I think that was the point. Whereas, like, somebody like Rogue was somebody that didn't want to go down any of these paths, but was kind of forced to in a way, or at least taken over and kind of pushed into that spot. Any theories on who the Dark Stars were? I'm open Clown is somebody significant. I don't really know. Sting's surrender's kind of lame. You have to understand though his character though, like why he did it. You got to really get like what was going on in this dude's head, because it's like Sting in a lot of ways was kind of like if you took Natsu and gave him Laxus's problems from the Fighting Festival. Not the same thing, but that like extremely emotionally contorted sense of self. He's clearly not being honest with himself. He's got a lot of baggage, and he's got a lot of turmoil going on inside, especially after what happened with Lecter. So to me, like, that's when you look at it like that, I think it makes perfect sense why somebody like that would have pretty much this emotional breakdown, because like once you get to that point and he's at that spot where he's like at I need to either go through with it or stop, and when you look at like everything this character was built up around, I think it made more sense for him to stop. Let me see. King Lightning's an idiot. I don't like King Lightning. I'm never gonna like King Lightning. And like, obviously, I don't know him on a. Would you make King of Lightning a fairy tale stan? Ugh, I don't want that. I don't want to interact with him. I don't know him obviously on a personal level. I don't know anything about what he's like as an individual, but obviously I know what he's like on a weeb to weeb basis, and I don't like his weebery, so I can't. Like, I can guarantee you if actually here, does anybody that watched like his reaction to when Zoro blocked the two Yonko attacks and then Kaido? Because I just guessing, I could be wrong. I bet he thought that was hype. Even though like he probably shit on Urza for Urza doing some crazy feat with a bunch of broken bones. Because that's what One Piece fans do. Not all of them. Hashtag not all One Piece fans. But the aggressively rude ones are. Because they don't care if something that they ragged on another series happens in One Piece. To them, it's cool then. And then they won't acknowledge it. And it'll just be like, okay, whatever. Not a thing anymore. Like, here's the thing. One Piece fans don't really talk about crazy power-ups anymore because Oda keeps giving them power-ups. They've got, like, Luffy has gotten he's gotten more free power-ups this arc than Natsu's had, like, in total. Like, permanent power-ups. Natsu's had temporary power-ups, but he's, like, had very few any moments of, like, straight, core, buffed, permanent power-up. He's now permanently stronger. Luffy's all are that. Luffy's only, like, Luffy's only, like, temporary power up, or sorry, non-permanent power up is what? Nightmare Luffy? Hot Eye was the best of the group. I liked him. I always thought Richard was funny. I think the other Dark Stars are connected to the other Shining. I assume so. I assume they're all connected. I think that makes sense based off what we've seen so far. Omishima does something with the gods. I think I feel like Ankh-Shram needs to happen though, just because of like the context in the series. Angel Clay Yukino is cute though, and we all like Angel and Yukino. I mean, Angel's just popular. Angel's always been popular though. She's always had that fun personality people have liked. Maybe getting the next villains after the Dragon Gods. I mean, I feel like the only thing logically after the Dragon Gods is Ankh-Shram. One Piece fans have major double standards. They do, and that's one of the problems I have with a lot of One Piece fans. It's because they will shit on something until it happens in their series, and then it's amazing peak fiction, 10 out of 10 writing. What's Luffy's bounty looking like? I assume it'll be like double it, because what's it right now? Isn't it like barely over 1 billion? I feel like it's gonna double after this, if not more. Because like if he beats Kaido, then it should be relatively close, if not higher. Actually, I feel like it should be absurdly higher because he's also got the awakened. He's got the awakened fruit, so like that, like the one that they've been after. So like Luffy should be the #1 target in the world. And on top of that, look who his damn dad is. Yukini needs need to go so Lucy can get all 12 keys. She doesn't need to anymore. I've got a video on that. I've got a video on why Lucy does not need them anymore, and I will get to that soon. I actually I was just cleaning up my tabs, and I've had the windows, or not the windows, the tabs open on a couple pictures, and I've been meaning to get to it. I'm going to get to it soon. I'm probably going to get to it the chapter after the one tomorrow. So probably in like 2 or so weeks, I might do it beforehand. But it's essentially why Lucy doesn't need to. I don't think Lucy needs to whatsoever anymore. I think she's fine. And I won't elaborate too much on that, but I will in the video. Because that's something I do really want to talk about. Because I think it's something that I haven't seen anybody make an argument for, and one of the reasons I haven't really talked about it much at all on Twitter or on YouTube, because I want it to be for the video, because I think it makes a lot of sense, and I want to see what people have take-wise for it. Oda basically gave Luffy everything. Yeah, he has pretty much, like, he has like every power. Like, even his devil fruit is pretty much both a Zoan and a Paramecia. Like, Luffy, like, I'm not gonna be surprised if he somehow gets Logi abilities. I think can absorb his stars he has. I don't know how I feel about that. How would that work? I think that'd be kind of cool if, like, he took one of the stars and, like, absorbed the mana of it and regained it. I think that'd be cool. Like, maybe he doesn't, like, he's in a spot where using conjunction isn't as vital, and he needs to pretty much put it into power or like, raw defense. I think that'd be sick. Let me see. Think you can King of Lightning be in One Piece versus Fairy Tail argument? I would hate that. I think that'd be terrible. Because I can guarantee you, he probably hasn't read Fairy Tail in like 10 years, but he would be one of those guys that talks about it like he has an understanding of what's been going on, especially, and I would hate that. Like, I can't argue with people on a topic if I've read both series and they've only read one. Like, I can't talk to people like that, because it's like they will act like they know, but they have no idea or context. I replace Lucifero Bloodman against the Cabin Wins. Bloodman stomps. They can't do anything against him. Like, literally just becomes a cloud of anti-magic and kills them all. Bloodman, Sting, and Rogue. Wait, I wish we got to see Bloodman versus Sting and Rogue. That'd be a weird fight. I don't think they could have really done much. But anyway, I'm gonna call it good on this. I'm gonna end the stream. A little bit longer than what I intended. Like, I was gonna go for like an hour. It's like an hour and a half. Tomorrow, though, I am gonna do normal chapter reaction. I'm going to do a chapter reaction, and I'm going to do the reaction and talk about to that guy's like Luffy versus Natsu video, and we're going to talk about that. So other than that, yeah, like I said, if you're interested in any of the additional content and voting stuff I'm going to put on the channel, then, be a member. It's only like $1 and $2. That you don't have to put much. You don't have to do it. The poll voting stuff will be for future videos. I'll put one out after this. I'll put out just like a post of like, what kind of magic are we talking about? I'll put out, or maybe some characters. I'll put 4 characters. We'll do a character analysis video. I'll put out a character analysis video and we'll talk about it. And then we'll yeah, give Tartarus a lot of pets. He's around here somewhere. I haven't seen him in like an hour. I think he's downstairs. But yeah, we'll do something like that. I'll pick out a couple characters I really like. I'll pick out 4 characters I would love to talk about, and then anybody who wants to sign up and vote, you can. Otherwise, it'll just I don't know, it might just be Jason, or if anybody wants to throw $2 in to get a vote, and you don't even have to stay in for another month. You could literally throw in $2, stay in 1 month, vote. If you don't like it, you can cancel the next month. But other than that, though,